Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to the Pageant Sit Down. It has been a hot minute since I've seen all of you. I had to take a little break last week because, there's this thing called the pageant hangover, and I was feeling it. And that is because Canada Galaxy's National Pageants was held a few weeks ago, and it was an amazing weekend. And I'm sure there are a lot of you who are tuned in for Canada Galaxy. Why? Because our guest is I'm going to bring her on really quickly. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pageant Sit Down, finally. And she's going to call me out on it, I already know. The National Director from Canada Galaxy Pageant, Sindy with an S. Hi, Sindy.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to finally be here.
Finally. I know it's been a while, but I'm so glad that you finally made it. And like I said, there's probably a lot of people here from Galaxy, but maybe also some people who are new to Galaxy. So Sindy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so for those of you who do not know me, my name is Sindy with an S. I'm the National Director of Canada Galaxy Pageants. Some of you may potentially seen me on a little show called Big Brother Canada. I was on season 3 and season 5. I am, I guess a former beauty queen, a flight attendant, and now the national director and all things pageants.
Yes. So, Sindy, I don't know if you could say a former, dip your toes in some sort of pageantry every now and then.
It's been a while. I think the last edition was back in 2018. Yeah, I think it's maybe 2019. But regardless, it felt weird competing. I think my heart was more being excited for my 2019 queens to compete at internationals than my own experience competing. So I don't know if you'll ever see me back on a stage anytime soon, because I'm just so invested in all of my queens' journeys.
And so how many queens do you currently have, and how many have you had since you started Galaxy Canada?
So right now for Team Galaxy Canada, we currently have 12 queens who will be competing. So we have the 7 newly crowned queens that just got crowned a week and a half ago. We have our 4 newly sash queens, yourself included. And then we also have Alexis from our 2019 group of queens. She placed first runner-up during her competition, and her prize was to return to Galaxy International. So she'll be rejoining Team Canada and participating. We do also have our 3 international queens who, I can't believe I could say it, are international queens. They'll also be there, obviously, at internationals for their handover, but they're not competing.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of women. So I want to get into, I guess, your past pageant experience starting with a question from Instagram. The question is, how many different systems have you competed in?
I have lost count. Okay, so I started late into pageantry. I originally wanted to do pageants when I was really young, but to be honest, I genuinely didn't think there was space for me. I dealt with a lot of self-identity issues. I dealt with a lot of racism, so I never felt that I was Canadian enough or pretty enough to ever compete in a pageant to represent Canada. It wasn't until I think after I worked on cruise ships that I started competing, and I competed in almost every system that was out there because I was potentially aging out. I just wanted to do it all. So I did, the Miss World organization, I did Universe, I did Earth, I did Perfect, the Miss Canada. I did a pageant in the UK that no longer exists now. It's been quite a few, and then a lot of smaller pageants locally that I've done too. So I would say that I have 13 years of experience. I just can't pinpoint the exact amount of pageants, because you know how it is. Sometimes you compete in one and you're like, I wouldn't really consider this as part of, but I still had a great time. But it's been a lot. It's been a lot of pageants.
And so what is it, I guess, about pageantry that keeps bringing you back?
I think what started it was I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And pageantry was the first place that I felt, wow, this is my people. Because growing up, I'm not the brightest student, but academically, I was not there. I wasn't allowed to participate in extracurricular activities. So I was definitely not athletic or part of any groups or clubs. So I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And I've always had this fascination for pageantry. I don't know where it really came from. I just always thought that, oh, that looks amazing. That's something that I think I can do. I can definitely strut. Like, I can do that. My initial thought process of pageantry was, oh, I'm pretty. Like, I can do it now. But then after my first experience, totally like flopped, didn't win anything. However, I did win Miss Congeniality. And the women that I met, it just changed my perspective on life. I did remember back then I grew up with a sense of competitiveness against other women. I would basically say that I did hate women at the time without really knowing it, because that was just how we kind of grew up, very competitively. Like, there's only one room for one person, and this is what it is. Also, I don't know why I'm so like blurry on the stream, but I guess I just have really bad internet or something. But what kept me going back was the women, the friendships that I was making. I had so much fun. Again, the sense of belonging, the women empowerment, the support system. And then it kept me going was when I kept on hating almost every pageant that I was a part of. I always was unhappy with the organization, how they ran things, how they treated the girls, how expensive and little we got for in return, and just vice versa. So it became okay, I know for every single time I compete in a pageant, I will always have the best time of my life. I will always make connection and make friends, regardless of the outcome. I don't care about the outcome, but I want to network. I want to meet other pageant girls. I want to grow kind of my knowledge of Canadian pageants to then take over the market, because I was sick and tired of the existing one and the mold that kept on seeming to be what was the perfect pageant girl, and I just didn't like it. So if you don't like something, you change it, and that's what it is.
No, and I remember, and I wrote this on social media, but I remember when I first met you, one of our first conversations was that you wanted to run your own pageant one day, and you were doing all these pageants to find the right one for you. And
yes.
And so what was it then, I guess, about Galaxy that you knew that this was the one for you?
I've always had my eye on Galaxy for a while, but I also knew in my heart that I cannot bring a system or create a system in Canada unless I personally competed in it. As much as I would value my friends' opinions that have competed at certain systems, you always know that all of us have a good heart where we wouldn't really want to say negative things about the pageant or be completely honest with our review, because we are just grateful that we had the experience. So we're so thankful. So we wouldn't really give a complete honest review. So who's more honest than myself? So I figured I need to compete in the system to see if this is something that I wanted, because it was the same thing when I went to the pageant in the UK and Paris, where on paper and through pictures and social media, I was, wow, this looks amazing. I can definitely see myself bringing this to Canada. I went and I competed, and it was a hard no. And I remember getting an email saying, hey, just following up on your interest. And I just said, no, thank you. Like, that's it. And then now that pageant is completely bankrupt and no longer exists.
Wow.
However, for Galaxy, when I finally got the opportunity to compete, because every single year I remember wanting to compete, but I wouldn't do it unless I was Canada. I didn't want to just be another province or another side representative to Canada. I just wanted to experience being Canada and I wanted to have a full, proper delegate experience. I remember constantly messaging the Galaxy office just to say, hey, do you have, oh, yeah, sorry, you already have a Canadian representative. And I was like, okay, I would wait till next year. And then it always conflicted with another pageant that I was consistently going with, so I never did it. And then 2018, I think probably a couple months, like 1 or 2 months before the pageant, it was finally like, hey, I'm sitting here and I'm like, do you have anyone representing Canada? Can I please come and compete? I did. And even me entering, my head was like, I don't want to win this. This is not what I want. I just want to experience and I just want to have fun. And I had the best time when I was down there. I felt the warmth, the love, the passion, the fairness. Just not once did I feel that being a 5'2" petite Asian from Canada, did I feel like that was a detriment to my success on that stage. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't even win. I didn't even place top 5. I won other side awards and I was very proud of myself. But right after I got off the stage, I think I went back to my room. I changed. I came back out because I was wanting to grab pizza or food. I saw Maria and then Maria, I want to take over Canada. And she's like, yes, of course. Yes, you can have it. And then she announced it to everybody in the lobby, like, this is our new Canadian director. And that's what made me love it. And obviously the fact that it was so welcoming, so open, so diverse, that it just aligned with everything that I wanted in Canada. Because there are other international films that have a Canadian preliminary that I've thought about, but I just don't agree with them saying 18 to 27, only we want specifically this height, this size. And because I can't personally experience it, I don't feel like I can give the right tools for my queens to be successful. And that's why it's so important for me that when I competed at Galaxy and now take over, because you know, as being one of my queens, how very direct and how much I want you all to succeed when you get there. That from my experience and every year that I go back with the queens, what I experienced them and the research that I've done, and I just want to make sure you're all good to go. And I don't know if I could have done that if I didn't compete in the first place.
That's true. And you've lived and breathed Galaxy, like it's your background right now. So do you ever feel that people
yes, it is.
Do you ever feel that people are now starting to see you as not Sindy with an S from Big Brother, but Sindy with an S from Galaxy?
I prefer that anyways. It is completely fine. I am trying to migrate things out because my social media and all my platforms did just have a lot of Big Brother fans, and I'm trying to cast them out and just have. I just want to be surrounded by positivity, by empowering and engaging women that want to make a difference. And why wouldn't you want that just on your feed? You know, I want to be able just to go on my Instagram or go on my Facebook and see something amazing that either our present or our past contestant have done compared to before, where it's just a bunch of toxic kind of comments and discussions that I just don't want to be a part of. So, you know, if you're not happy with the environment that you're in, then change it. And that's what I did. So I am fine with that. I think the only benefit to Big Brother was, especially at the start of Galaxy, people realized that I wasn't some complete stranger gamer trying to like MLM you into pageant kind of thing. I think when people realize that, when I said, oh, I'm from Big Brother Canada or I've done a show, a quick Google search and realize that I'm a real person and I'm putting my reputation on the line. I'm not just hey, boss babe.
I mean, that's how you got Elizabeth, right? So
yeah, Elizabeth was Big Brother fan, and I remember her telling me how I think she was in class and she flipped out when I made the post that I was bringing Galaxy to Canada, and she was one of the first people to apply, like pay in full, like get her SAS. She was fully committed. She's so professional. At one point in the email, she did write like, just want to let you know that I'm a huge fan of Big Brother, but like, but you know, and now here she is where She was a 2019 queen. She turned staff. She's my delegate coordinator. She is one of the only people I truly, truly trust. So I'm so grateful that that happened. But I will never, ever forget that Elizabeth was such a fangirl. And I'm going to keep exposing her.
As she says in the chats.
Yes, I even have the comments of when I announced that I was competing at Galaxy 2018. And she even commented being like, oh my gosh, Sindy, I've been waiting for you to announce that you do something like Galaxy. Galaxy is perfect for you.
Exposed.
Right, Elizabeth? You remember that?
I love that. Well, speaking of chats, so Elizabeth clearly is here. Irene is here. She says, Liz, I feel you. We also have Sarah. She says, hello, beautiful. Hey, Sindy. Melissa McGregor, she has a question. We'll get to it. Nicole Ben says hi. Or I guess Nicole says hi. And Elizabeth says, I promise I am not a fangirl. So going back to Melissa, she says, I know you're a director of Galaxy, but do you plan on competing in any other pageant?
At this moment, no. I think it is so much work to be managing, 7 queens in general. Now I have 12, so that's quite a bit to take care of. But I feel that if I were to compete again, it is to possibly bring another system to Canada. That would be the only reason that I find myself competing, because generally, and I say this to my current contestants, is if your heart isn't in the system, if you're not going to do the work, then don't rob that experience from the first runner-up or someone that generally would do that. And I feel that if I were to compete in another system, everything of mine would still be Galaxy. I would not be giving whatever system I potentially might compete or win in the time of day, unless my intention at the end of it was, this is me adding another system under me as a director. So sometimes I get the pageant bug, and when I see you all in rehearsals and you're all on stage and you're walking, and I'm all, I can definitely walk on that stage. I don't think my heart is quite in there to compete. I genuinely am so excited to see my queens on stage. I cry for every success that they go through. I'm a very emotional and invested director, as some of you could probably tell. I was crying at the pajama
I think
party,
you made me emotional. And I'm not like, I can be emotional, but I don't cry as much as I did at Nationals. And I think you're rubbing off on me. It's either you or Nicole. It's one of you.
It was interesting because I'm not that much of an emotional person too, but when you're in that environment, and like for me, it has been a lot for me to just kind of like sit back and, wow, this is what I've accomplished. I'm so proud of myself. And usually at that moment, it's usually the pajama party is when I finally get a chance to just, for 2 seconds, not a long time, but for 2 seconds, and be able to see all of that. And that's when I'm just like, I'm so proud of myself for creating this and creating this environment. I hope they're all proud of themselves, because without the girls, they wouldn't be able to create. Like, I just gave everyone a door. That's essentially all I did. And the contestants that we get, the delegates that we get, they kicked that door down. And they didn't just open it. They kicked it down and they built a whole new world on the other side. And that's what I'm forever grateful. And that's what gets me emotional and start crying. And maybe I think that you haven't had a director like me, and maybe that's why you weren't as emotional and crying, because I don't think yourself and Denise were telling me how you both have your experience, you both have handovers before. I don't think, I think I became the director that I wanted, that I wish I had, and I wanted to be that for all of you girls. So to see you all cry, it makes me feel good, because it means I must be doing something right to make you feel emotional about leaving me for 2 seconds.
Well, so that actually brings me to one of the questions from Instagram. I have a whole bunch of them. You've answered as you've been talking. But one question is, what is one thing you wanted different for you directing Canada Galaxy compared to the other pageants that you experienced? That's a really good question.
What have I done differently, or what
What
did I
is
want to
one
do
thing
differently?
you wanted different for you directing Canada Galaxy compared to the other pageants that you've experienced?
I wanted everything to be different, because everything that I experienced, the common denominator that was the positive. So every pageant I did, I would go through kind of a mental pros and cons list of what I liked about the system, what I didn't like. And even throughout the week, I would have complaints of, oh, like, they knew it was this X, Y, and Z. Why didn't they, preemptively prepare for this or anything like that? The only thing that was a positive every single experience was the girls. So I knew that that's not going to change is the girls. So what can I do differently? And I think the biggest thing was I care. I want everyone to feel like they belong in this system. And I didn't genuinely feel that every single time I competed. I would compete, and I think every pageant I would compete in, I would think in my head, I know I'm not going to win, but I'm going to have the best time anyways. I shouldn't feel that way. If you're entering a pageant, you should feel that you have just as much of a chance to win as the next girl beside you. And that's what I wanted to create. So I wanted to create an environment. I wanted to create a place that people can continuously come to improve, because that's not really available here in Canada, right? So some of the systems that we have are the Grand Slams. They're quite expensive. That's not something that you can just jump to every single year to try to grow. While in the US, there are so many national pageants that you see girls say, I tried for 5 years, I tried for 6 years, and now I'm finally here. I don't think I've ever met anyone in Canada to say that. They would probably try out 2, maybe 3 times for a certain particular system. Mostly it's the MUC title, and then they stop because they aged out, or it's just way too expensive and they just don't feel like it's in their heart anymore. I wanted to offer the environment, the ability for people to consistently want to prove that even if they were to age out in their division, the next challenge is the next division up for them to go, okay, like I'm not a teen anymore, I'm now in the mist. How can I improve and excel in the mist division? And it's always room for growth. And I wanted people to just have fun and leave the weekend. The only disappointment that they felt was, oh, I'm so sad that I didn't win the crown. But they generally had the most amazing time. They had fun. They met great people. They feel that there's room for growth, so that they want to come back. But that's what I wanted to create as a director. I didn't want someone to just go and think, I hate this, I'm never coming back. And I never, ever want that. So if anyone ever feels that way, I'm so sorry, like, let's stop. But I like to think that I have made everyone feel special and included. Like, I know I don't small talk to you all. You all know I hate small talk. But I genuinely do care about you, I swear to God.
Speaking of some of the girls who were just at Galaxy, Irene says, you did a great job on that. We feel special from the inception until the...
Oh, so in inscription is, I found out, I learned this, all the French contestants. So from the registration.
There you go.
So she's saying she's so special from registration until
there
the
you
weekend
go.
arrives.
I was just like, huh? Learning something new here.
Yeah, I know. That was something that I kept on being like, what is inscription? But yeah, it's always like the registration, like from the time they paid.
I was like, the what?
Thanks for giving me your money.
Love that.
Thank you, Irene. I appreciate that too. And I always forget. I don't know, sometimes when people give me any sort of compliments and say, thank you for doing this and you did great on that, it's hard for me to accept it, because to me, I think this is the norm. This should be, they shouldn't be thanking me for something that should have been there from the beginning. So it's hard for me sometimes to be like, oh, I know I did a great job, like good job, Cindy. It's just, this should have been there from the beginning. But I when I do lay in bed at night and I think back of my day, I genuinely do appreciate all the time that people have took the time to share their appreciation or kind words. So I appreciate that.
And speaking of words, so there is a segment on our show, Sindy, which is 5 tips from a beauty queen. And like you said earlier, you've had lots of experience in pageants. You now have experience as a pageant director. So what would be your 5 pageant us today?
My 5 pageant tips. Where do I even start? The first thing I would probably say is read your paperwork. Read your handbook. Read anything that the pageant sends you. 90% of the time, the questions that you may have is there. And it's best to save your most important questions that you know are not there. Send that off to the director or their delegate coordinator or their assistant. But 90% of the time, the questions that you have can be found in the information package, in the handbook, or just searching it. That's always something that I think people tend to forget. The number 2, I would say, is invest in yourself. So I know that pageantry can be very expensive, and it all depends on how you kind of take the experience. And one thing that I would always push people to do is to get a coach. Because as much as I'm the director and I'm trying to organize everything, I can't provide you with the attention and the skill and the time that a coach can. I can't sit here and go through all of your wardrobe thought process, see videos of you walking or any of that, because one, I don't want to be that person that someone ends up going, okay, well, so-and-so did successfully because she got all her tips and tricks from the director. I don't want that. I'm trying to keep as, unbiased as possible. I want the best queens to win. So I would always encourage people to invest in themselves, either hiring a coach for specifically the interviews or the runways or wardrobe, or consulting with a pageant stylist to kind of help them refine their look and their skill to be able to present themselves at the best way that they could. Third tip, have fun. Because if you're not going to have fun, I promise you, you're going to hate it at the very end. I think people need to take a step back sometimes from the competition and just go, wow, I'm here. I did all of this. I can't believe it. Now it's time for me to put everything that I've worked so hard on and execute it at the very end. And again, if you don't get the results that you want, I hope you're also open-minded and still having fun and not forget the memories that you created, but then want to build on those memories by wanting to come back the following year, either as a contestant or as a volunteer staff, or just to be there to assist other people. I think having fun is so important because it's a lot of work being one of my queens. And if you're not going to have fun doing it, you're not going to have the best time of your life. I would also encourage people to connect with others, even prior to pageant weekend. I think that's something that the Canadian community, pageant community, is trying to learn, because we've all been so focused on our individual style. I'm competing. I'm going against this person. I'm going to look through everybody's bio and what they've done. And they're so focused on that, when you forget that this is still a sisterhood. There is only one winner. So you might as well just make a friend. If you can make at least one friend prior to pageant weekend, it's going to excel your experience so much. Just going to bring it over the top. And then you have that one comfort person, but then you would also feel kind of the motivation to make another friend, because you've already secured one friendship. You're like, okay, this is my friend, this is my roommate, I'm gonna have the best time, but I want to connect with other people and try to do that. And you never know who you're going to meet. I know that some girls have helped each other find jobs. Some people have helped them find opportunities and the career path that they want to go to. And we try to connect people, but the sisterhood is there. You just have to really be open to it. And there's only so much that some people can try to reach out to you, but you also have to reach just as much, and make sure it's a two-way street. It's not just one person doing all the work in the friendship. And I guess for the last tip, I don't know what I would say for the last tip. Just be, I guess, a queen all the time, crown or not, because you never know if you want to come back to the same system. You don't know if other directors are talking and would give their honest opinions about certain people. And as much as people come and go out of my life, if you're not a queen 24/7, like, I'm going to forget about you. You're out of my life once I see any unsportsmanlike behavior, but you're going to be the one that has to live with that you just invested, X amount of time to be part of something and you're leaving with nothing. So I think it's very important to be a queen before, during, and after the pageant at all times. Mm-hmm. I think those are good tips, right? Those are different. I like to think they were a little different.
Those are 5 great tips. And to all those who want to join Canada Galaxy, I hope you listened, because I know Sindy, and I know that she basically gave you the golden rules of Galaxy. So if you want to do well in Galaxy, take those 5 tips to heart and bring it along the journey with you. Speaking...
Oh, and do your appearances. Yes. That's another thing I need to really add on. Please do your appearances. Yeah. They're very simple. Get involved in your community. You don't have to put this in your clips, but like, for those of you who are interested in Galaxy, we are a system that is very involved with the community, with giving back. And if you don't think you're quite that person yet, then maybe take the time to not join in quite yet. Mm-hmm. If you're willing to accept the challenge, and yes, join the system. And there are sisters out there who would help you with your appearances and help you get involved in your community. But if you're the type of person where you just want to get on stage and then that's it, this might not be the system for you, especially when every year, our top 5 changes because some people just didn't want to do any appearances. And I sit here and I go, she had so much potential, and then she gets bumped out of the top 5 because she didn't do the work. And it's something that you can control. If you were at school and you can get an extra 5% or 5 points in your extracurricular activity and a bonus project, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you want to be in control of your own outcome? Mm-hmm. So you don't have to do it.
You don't have to, but we would recommend that you do.
I highly recommend, for sure.
There you go. So in the chats, Coralie Mitchell, she's in the chat. She says, a pageant for the Battle of Canadian Directors, you would take the title. It says you don't need a crown to be a queen. So
1,000%. Just like the saying, wear your invisible crown. And Coralie, thank you so much for saying that. There are also other amazing directors here in Canada. Everyone just have a different vision of what they want.
There you go. So going back to Instagram, there have been a lot of questions coming through. One topic that was most of these questions is, how was it organizing pageant during the pandemic?
It is so hard. I don't understand. You know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, only because I took the year off. When I made the decision to postpone the 2020 pageant originally, well, it was still the 2021 pageant in 2020, and postpone it to a year later, I obviously had a lot of high hopes back then too, saying, hopefully we'll have a vaccine, we'll have some answers, we'll have some better guidelines that we can kind of follow through. And I took that year for me to do my research, what other pageants have done, as a precaution, the amount of COVID cases that came out of pageants, publicly or not publicly. I just wanted to see realistically the logistics of things, how it's going to be. I knew for 2021, there was no heck that I am going to be postponing the pageant. I knew it was going to happen, whatever it may be. if the gatherings was allowed only 5 people at a time, we were going to have a pageant with 5 people at a time. It was regardless. And I had plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. What I didn't particularly wanted to execute in my plans was my backup venues and finding alternatives. So it was already hard enough planning it in a time of a pandemic. Also a time of uncertainty with a lot of people because, health is very important. So everyone had their opinions on whether or not they thought it was appropriate to compete during this time. But then on top of all of that, we also had to switch venues, 2-3 weeks before the actual national because we had some construction and some pipe bursts in our venues and everything. So having to deal with all of that on top of everything was really tough. But I was very glad that we had more of a direct guideline from the government to say, hey, this is what the capacity is, this is what the restrictions will be. I was happy that I did the testing. I know not everyone was a huge fan of doing it, but it did give a lot of what I would think was a sense of security, knowing that everyone was negative. I was grateful that people who did not even attend the weekend, because we had some hair and makeup staff and some contestants that were exposed to COVID and did not come at all. So I was very grateful for that. But do I have to do this again? I hope not. I hope next year is a lot better.
I hope so too.
But I thought that this year, as much as it was a pandemic, I think it was as normal can be for a pageant weekend. I think it was nice that the contestants had the opportunity to remove their mask when they were inside the private event space because they were on negative. Everyone felt a bit more, but then no one felt off if they wanted to keep their mask on, because I know there were some girls that kept their mask on the entire time and there was no issues with that. There was nothing, that I had against that. So I was very excited, and it's been over a week. I haven't heard about anybody experiencing symptoms or anything like that. Knock on wood. So as far as I know, we are in the clear, and I am very, very, very happy with that.
I think one of the great things about, having the COVID test and everyone, me, I was very hesitant with being around people. Like, my appearances had all turned virtual.
Yes.
So knowing that everyone was negative and everyone was comfortable, like some girl would be like, can I give you a hug? I'm like, have you been tested yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, then no. And then they'd come to me when it was after. So it was like, it just made me feel so much more at ease, like you were saying, and knowing that you're negative, I was negative, everyone else was too. So first off, from everyone, thank you for putting all of our safety first, because you could have let the people who didn't want to test in, and a week, now we could have all had COVID. So thank you for that. I know a lot of the girls were very thankful, and the parents as well. Melissa Gregory says, thank you for giving my sister the chance to showcase her abilities at this pageant system.
Yes, Miss Chanel was first runner-up in the MS division. She definitely wowed the judges. They were very happy with the outcome. It was a very close race between her and Natalie. So I'm excited to have Chanel back, because I know I saw her little registration form there. And, first runner-ups do get a little push to come back more from me. So I was very thankful that she took a chance on us too, because I know she had a little bit of hesitancy coming, but I'm glad that she took the plunge, and she did amazing. So good job, and good for you for supporting.
Yes, I hope Melissa comes and joins Galaxy one day.
1,000%. She already told me she's interested. I'm not thinking no for an answer.
There you go. Jenna Marie says, is exactly what we needed. Thank you, Sindy. Here I go, crying again. And she's crying.
Oh, she's such an emotional queen. No.
She is.
No, I'm very happy with how the weekend went. And it was definitely a huge learning curve, because it was the biggest year yet. So my biggest year in a pandemic, in a new location, changing everything up, because we went from having 1 show to 3 shows to 5 shows. it was a lot for sure. But I'm excited to announce that for Canada Galaxy 2022, we're going to be having a 3-day event.
Wow.
Instead of 2. So we're adding an extra day. And that extra day will also mean that I get to add something that I've always wanted to do, and that is a pink party.
Are we allowed to come back?
Well, you're a newly sashed queen, so you're definitely invited to come back and join in the festivities.
I was like,
but the
please
newly
say.
crowned queen obviously are more in the forefront because it's their handover. But obviously, all my former queens are invited to come back and watch the show and participate and volunteer. But as a newly sashed queen, there are still some responsibilities for you that I need from you.
Well, Nicole knows me too well. She goes, we all know it's pink. Yes. And that is why when she said pink party, I'm like, I already have my outfit.
I know. I'm sitting here like, what am I gonna wear? I haven't decided if that's gonna be a consistent yearly thing of a pink party, or if I want to change the colors every year, or make it a tradition every year. I'm not quite sure, because next year is our 4th year, and then we have our 5th anniversary. So obviously I have to plan something big for the 5th anniversary. Like it's going so quick. How are you in the 4th year? So I'm excited.
It is. What else? Who else is here? The Costy girls. Jana says we're coming back then too. Elizabeth says me too. So we're all coming back. Coralie Mitchell says, do any of the Galaxy systems have an on-stage question part?
No, none of the Galaxy systems in any of the countries do an on-stage question. They all tend to do it in the interview process because it is worth a percentage of their score. I know that sometimes Galaxy International has hinted at the idea of doing the on-stage question for the top 5, but I tend to only keep it with the same guidelines that internationals will do. So if Galaxy International were to ever change it as, an on-stage question for the top 5, and that's something that we would probably look into, because I want the girls to experience what they are going to experience when they get there, so they're not, questioning it. But so far, none of the other countries does it, as far as I know.
Wonderful. I missed a question. I do apologize. So a question from Brooklyn Smith. She says, hi, what is your favorite pageant memory so far? You're amazing, Sindy.
Oh, thank you, Brooklyn. I think my favorite pageant memory is basically any time that I've cried. And when I cry, it's my outlet. It's my emotional release. And so far, every time I've cried has been one, when I share how proud I am of the contestants and all their hard work. I cry when the juniors won internationals, and I was so proud of them. I cry when I see they cry during their farewell, which I never like, but I always hope that my queens are crying when they say goodbye to me some way or another. Because I do miss them terribly. It's such a honor to have them in my life, and I always hope that our friendship continues beyond, the crown. So that I would always say is my favorite memory. But I think sometimes it's the post-pageant experience. I know for my 2019 queens, we had pizza and ice cream after the pageant. My 2020 junior queens, even though Kinsley fell asleep because, poor girl was tired at this time, we did have pizza afterwards and just sat in bed, just talking and catching up. And I think, it's just the best memory is my queens and the people that I get to meet and have in my life. That's where I'm always super thankful for. It makes it all worth it. It's all this headache that you all give me. Makes it all worth it.
That's good to know. We're still waiting for our pizza party, but that's fine. Anmal, Denise, Chloe, we'll wait. No problem. And one other question. There's so many questions from Instagram, but I'm not going to ask all of them since you've kind of answered them as we were talking. But this is a good question. Is it competing or being a director?
Being a director, 1000%. being a director is more nerve-wracking because when you're competing, I'm in control of my results. I am in control of what I do on stage, how I prepare myself, and what I do. As a director, I can only direct and guide my queens so much. I can, I know I'm already a strict director where, the girls have to talk to me every single week. I want to approve their wardrobe. I constantly want to know what's going on with their lives. But then when they get on that stage, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what just happened backstage that might have thrown them off. And I would sit there, and I feel this every single year whenever I see the queens on stage, I'm just like not breathing. And whenever it comes to crowning, I'm still not breathing. I'm like hyperventilating, preparing. It's the most nerve-wracking thing is to be a director. And I just want my queens to do well. And if they don't place where they want to place, I want them to be proud that they gave it their all. I don't want any of the girls to, I didn't place top 5 because I didn't give it my all. Well, why didn't you? So for me, it's very nerve-wracking when I see them go on stage because I just hope that, all the growth and everything that was done in between is finally being executed on stage. So, yeah, I take me competing over directing any day, but honestly, it's so stressful.
Well, I mean, we all saw your reaction when the 3 girls won, so I can only imagine the emotion that were going through your head.
I was already crying before they even competed. Just before they went on stage, I was already sitting down with the 3 girls backstage, and I'm just giving them a big speech. Kinsley's half listening, but she was listening. And just basically saying, there's a chance that we may take home 1, 2, 3, or 0 crowns. So we have to be very supportive of whomever that might take this crown home, and also be there for the person that did not take any crowns home. And we have to be able to kind of celebrate each other's success, even if it's just 1, 2, or 3, or none of us. I do not want any, sadness quite yet, because I want you to celebrate with the person that did it, and then afterwards we can be sad together. And I started crying because I was just so proud of how they were all week. They maintained their mask. They did their best with their hair and makeup with the humidity down there. They killed it in their interviews and their wardrobe and their hair and their makeup. It's just like, I just remember just being so proud of them before they even got on stage. And then they got on stage and I'm all like, oh. And then they won, and I even some more holding my flag and everything. So it was a big moment.
What was it, I guess, for you? Kinsey was called, and then Kylie was called. Was there ever a point during crowning where you're like, oh my God, they're all going to win? Or was it, oh my God, what if she doesn't get called and she just got called?
I don't think I ever sat there and was thinking, oh my God, what if we take home all 3? I think I was more concerned of, okay, I hope Kinsley wins. Okay, she wins. Great. Oh shoot, I really hope Kylie wins too, because they're sisters and I don't want one to go home without the crown. And then I was like, okay, well, if she doesn't win, then maybe Nicole doesn't win and we can just focus on one winner. Like, I was going through all the options in my head. But then when Kylie won, I'm sitting here being like, oh my God, I hope Nicole wins too, because, Nicole is so prepared, but so was everyone else against her. And it wasn't like, it was really tough competition in the junior miss. It was a bloodbath fast between them. So for me, I was just so concerned, like, oh my gosh, like, I hope Nicole wins too, because I cannot have and then she did, and then I freaked out and I'm bawling my eyes out. The flag, it was just a lot going on.
Oh, we heard it in the live stream.
So I was very happy at the end of it, when it was just like, okay, like, whew, this is the best outcome. I'm happy. I can breathe now.
For now.
And let's just get everyone prepared. Yeah, oh my goodness.
So I guess now that you have your 7 new queens plus the 4 resashed queens, what are you looking forward to when it comes to this bigger group of women?
I'm looking forward to seeing the bonds that they create, which they've already started. And it's always beautiful for me to see. It's tough when I have queens from outside of Ontario because sometimes they're alone. So, for example, Enma was the only one that was outside of Ontario, but now she has 3 sister queens in Alberta with her that she can connect. I know they're younger, but she can be a big sister to them. But their parent will just be as much as her parent, and they're just gonna have a great experience over there. So for me, I'm nervous because there's 3 misses and there's 3 myths, but I'm also so excited to see how everyone brings it together and the bond that they're going to create, and just like this bigger family that I have now. And we're already so close. Like, I'm already talking to all the girls and you're talking to all of them, and just to see them doing appearances together, that's always just been like, oh, this is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted. So I think I'm just looking forward to just this big. We're kind of like a mini sorority.
We are.
I'm looking forward to see how our vacation to international, wherever it may be, and just the experience there, because this is the biggest group, and it's already tough trying to balance between the two, because I don't want the newly crowned queens to feel like I'm not giving them special treatment as new queens, but I don't want the newly sash queens to feel that I'm ignoring them because, they've had me for 2 years. But you did have me for 2 years, so I need to give them just as much attention as I've given you for the last 2 years. So it's been quite interesting, but I'm excited for this challenge. I'm excited for my queens, and just excited just to experience it all together.
Well, we are really excited, and honestly, you as a director, and I can only speak from my experience, but I know Nikosi girls and Liz are here. As a director, yes, you're strict, but you do it because we know that you care, and that, I mean, if you didn't care, you wouldn't talk to us every day. Like you said, there's been other directors in the past who they just want your money and that's it. Where you literally pour your heart and soul into every single one of us. Now there's 12 of us plus the 3. So we all feel the love, and we know that at the end of the day, we mess up and Sindy looks at us and says, "Who told you to start the show?" We know you still love us regardless.
I apologize to everyone that I yelled at during nationals. I am so sorry, but I just have a lot of expectations, and I believe that you all reach those expectations and can go higher. So when things don't go quite 100%, that's definitely it. But no, Janice, it's 15 if you include Junior North America into this. Sorry, I just saw Janice's comment there, but it's 15 international girls.
Yeah. So we are starting to wrap things up, Sindy, and I know that there are a lot of people out here who are interested in Canada Galaxy, or maybe the Galaxy system and entries. I don't know if you wanted to plug in, if you have any early information that we can get for next year's pageant.
Yeah, so I am so excited to share that we're going to be having a 3-day event next year. We're aiming for September 2022. It will not be during a long weekend because school is very important, as well as people just want a holiday for themselves, myself included. But I am aiming for September 2022. I just had a site visit today. We're signing contracts on Friday, so as soon as that's being signed, I will officially announce the actual date. But be prepared for a 3-day weekend. Divisions are all maintaining the same. We're probably going to break up the shows again. It's going to be so much fun next year. You can just head to CanadaGalaxyPageants.com/enter now. The current information package will be updated hopefully today or tomorrow, but the main gist of the information is there. And I am so excited to welcome the returning delegates, the new contestants who've always wanted to try out Galaxy. This is the time. Let's go. The sooner you put your money where your mouth is, I think that's the term for it. As soon as you do that, that will give you the motivation to go and to focus and prepare your plan. And I'm here for you. I'm here for all of you. So I'm excited.
And we are excited to see what happens with Galaxy. Sindy, thank you for finally coming on the show. I know I've been wanting to get you on, but it's been crazy. But you know what? After Canada Galaxy and the hype that there is right now, this is the best time for you to come on the show so everyone can, I guess, talk Galaxy with you because it's still so fresh in everyone's mind. And I hope anyone watching, if you are interested in Canada Galaxy, that you do join. I say this all the time. I would not return to a pageant if I didn't think that it was a great system. And I came back, and here I am 3 years later. So if that doesn't say anything, then Sindy doing Galaxy Internationals and bringing it to Canada has to say something else.
I'm so excited, and I'm glad that I have you for another year. And I'm always so proud of you of everything that you've done. And I'm so glad to finally be on the Pageant Sit Down. I know that we always talked about me being on here, but I also feel that I'm always talking to you. So I was like, okay, we need to get her not talking to me and just talking to other pageant girls all around. So I'm excited for that. And I'm so glad to finally be on here. And I hope people learn things and learn about me and Galaxy. And hopefully I see some new names coming for the 2022 year.
Looking forward to it. Again, Sindy, thank you for joining us tonight. To everyone who tuned in, thank you for all. Oh, Scott Dion Brown just jumped in. He says, greatest pageant in the galaxy. And we're going to leave it at. If all of you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. If you enjoy pageantry and like the Pageant Sit Down, make sure you subscribe to this channel as we do go live every Wednesday, unless I have a pageant hangover. We will see you guys next Wednesday. Again, Sindy, thank you for joining us. I will be sure to add all of your links in the description, so make sure you follow Sindy everywhere. Sindy with an S. She is the only one, Sindy with an S. And I'll see you all next week. Bye!
Bye!